Hey everybody, how's it going? It's a Daily Shooter, and today we're going to be taking a look at a variable power 1:6 scope from Swampfox Optics. This is the Tomahawk. Okay, so let me go ahead and first get started by saying that I think that scopes like this, your low variable power options like your 1:4s, 1:6s, and 1:8s are probably one of the best all-around choices for anybody that's on the market for a new optic these days. And that's because they are so versatile. I mean, these things really do fill quite a few roles. For instance, I did a video about a year ago talking about the differences between shooting with something like this versus, let's say, a red dot with a magnifier or a fully dedicated magnified optic that's low power like a 3:9 or a 2.5:10. And in my personal opinion, a scope like this wins out every single time because it's so versatile. For instance, I'll give you one point here. A red dot with a magnifier, that's a very popular option. People like to put a red dot on there, it's 1x, there's no magnification, and then when they want their magnification, they slap a magnifier on there, and then, you're out shooting to longer distances. But one of the downsides between that, besides the fact that you have to have two different things on your rifle, is the fact that when you are zoomed into whatever power magnifier you have behind it, there is no extra information in that reticle. So for me on this, I can start off at 1x mag, which means that I have no magnification, and I can zoom it all the way up to 6. But unlike a red dot, I have a bullet drop compensating reticle and a reticle that provides me a lot more illuminated information than that red dot ever can. So I'm more liable to actually hit my target on the first round or following rounds with something like this than I am with a magnified red dot. So it's just really, really hard to beat an option like this. Alright, so with that being said, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the Swampfox Optics Tomahawk. We'll talk about some of the tech specs, details, and features, and then I'll give you guys my own personal thoughts and opinions on the optic. But talking about the tech specs and features, what you're looking at here is a 1:6 power scope. Again, 1 power meaning that there's no magnification and it goes all the way up to 6 times zoom. They also have 2 different models available, a 1:4 and a 1:8. So if you want a little bit less or a little bit more magnification, that's available. I can tell you that the middle of the road 1:6 is perfectly fine for me. I'm able to shoot out to 600 yards, which is the extent of my local range, and I can hit my target accurately every single time with the 1:6. So it works out really well. But for those people that want a little bit more magnification, that 1:8 is available. Now you can get this scope with 2 different reticle options, either an MOA reticle or what they call their Gorilla Dot BDC or bullet drop compensating reticle. Both are very nice. Both provide you with a lot of information. It's sort of like a modified horseshoe that either has a cross in the middle or it has different hash marks that are located in different areas in order to give you that bullet drop compensation that you need. Now, when you're comparing this to, let's say, like a red dot with a magnifier like I was talking about earlier, one of the nice things about the illumination on this reticle, because it is red illuminated, is that unlike a red dot, which can be seen as a fuzzy, blurry, Burning Man kind of blooming picture to some people with eye problems like myself who has an astigmatism, a scope like this uses an etched reticle, and it projects that light against the etched reticle, and so it looks crisp and perfect. Even if you have an astigmatism, you will see a really nice, crisp, illuminated reticle in this because it is on etched glass. Now, this does have 11 different brightness settings, and it uses a standard CR2032 battery, and the brightness settings are easily adjustable by a side knob that is very nicely knurled, that allows you to adjust it very easily, and it has some really nice tactile and audible clicks to it as well when you're going through your brightness levels. So it is a really, really cool optic, and I think it's good for a lot of people, even people like myself with eye conditions. Now, another nice thing about this scope is size and weight. It's 10.5 inches long and only weighs 17.5 ounces because unlike a traditional scope, which would have maybe a 42 or 50 millimeter objective, which has a large piece of heavy glass at the end, this has a 30 millimeter tube, a 30 millimeter body, which uses 30 millimeter rings, and it doesn't extend at all into a bell housing at the end, meaning that you have a much smaller piece of glass, a much more lightweight piece of glass. That's going to mean a lot to people that have to trek this thing around. If you are a competition shooter and you're going to be using this for 3-gun, that lightweight means you're going to be able to swing it without overextending your shot. And if you're a hunter doing a lot of backpacking, every ounce is going to matter to you. So being the fact that this is only 17.5 ounces, I think is a great feature. Okay, now let's talk about the turrets. The turrets are a very important part of a scope. They're one of the things that I look at, and if turrets suck, then it can definitely turn me off of buying a scope and make me look elsewhere. These are very, very nice turrets. They're nice and wide. They have a very nice texture to them. Kind of aggressive, to be honest with you, but that's good if you are in a very wet area, or if you're in a competition, your hands are sweaty, it's in the middle of summer, whatever, you can grab onto these and you know that you're gonna get a good hold on them. They are also audible and tactile, so as you turn them, you can hear that click, and you can also feel the click in your fingers so that you know how many clicks you're actually making in your adjustments. Now, there was actually some pretty nice things that added to the value of this scope in the box. One, you get these really nice flip-up caps. That's going to help protect your glass, and they are very nice, and they're spring-loaded. They keep the lens covers up and out of the way. And it also came with this quick throw lever. So this is a really nice quick throw lever. You go ahead and screw this on, comes with a little tool, you screw that on, it fits into the knurling for the adjustment ring, and it allows you to go all the way from 1 power to 6 power really quickly. So if you are somebody that's in competition and speed is going to be your ultimate factor, then having that come with it where you don't have to buy an extra throw lever is a very nice little feature. And it's nice. It doesn't add any weight to the scope at all. It's skeletonized and has a really nice look to it, but it does give you a really nice positive grab on that magnification ring. So again, you can go from 1 to 2 to 4 to 6 as fast as you can. And again, if you have the other ones, 1 to 4 or 1 to 8, same thing. So I do like the fact that they added lens caps and they added that. You didn't have to buy that extra, and it came with the battery and everything. So this thing's ready to go right out of the box. The only thing, again, you're going to need for it are the rings. Now, I should also mention that with this scope right here, the turrets are lockable. So for people that are wondering, now this is a second focal plane scope. It is not first focal plane, meaning that the reticle is going to stay the same size all the way through its magnification range. So the reticle is going to look the same at 1 power as it does at 6 power. So keep that in mind if you're looking between, first and second focal plane. Second focal plane works best if you're talking about bullet drop compensation when you are magnified all the way to its max setting, or if they will, they'll tell you that it works best at what specific setting. With this one, you want to have it dialed all the way up to 6 power if you're going to use that bullet drop compensating reticle. So keep that in mind, second focal plane. Okay, so now let's talk about my own personal thoughts and opinions on this scope right here. I've had a chance to shoot it for a while on multiple rifles and put quite a few rounds down range with it, so I feel confident that I can give you guys some pretty good feedback. Now, I should mention for complete transparency that Swampfox Optics sent this out to the channel for review. They asked me to do an honest review, and that's what I'm going to do today. Okay, so when I initially started my review, I actually had this thing set up on a different rifle, and that's because the bullet drop compensating reticle in this scope is set up for a 16-inch barrel 5.56. So that's what I had it on to start off with, testing out the elevation and windage, making sure that all of the adjustments were correct, making sure that the holdovers were all correct, and really just making sure that it would hold zero and everything worked fine. After that, I set it up on my AR-10, which is what it's currently on. And the reason that I did that was to add an extra layer of durability testing, because this rifle right here, being a semi-automatic 308, does have a lot of recoil. And for some reason, it has a surprising amount of recoil compared to other 308s. This thing kicks, and it does have a Lantac Dragon compensator at the end of it. Nonetheless, I put it on this to add that extra layer. Wanted to make sure that it would maintain zero and everything would hold the way that it does, even if it's set up on a 308 rifle being a 5.56 scope. And it did. It held up perfectly fine. I never had an issue with it coming out of zero. As far as the illumination was concerned and the battery, it never flickered, it never turned off. Everything worked fine as far as illumination went, and it still ended up being great. As a matter of fact, I found out where the holdovers were when I switched this over to 308, and I was able to use kind of my own manufactured holdovers within this scope on this rifle. So that worked out really well. Also, I found that the glass was extremely nice. One of the nicest things about this scope, I think, is how clear the glass is, especially for the money. It's very nice. It's got edge-to-edge clarity. I didn't notice any distortion. There was no bowing. There wasn't any of that really heavy fuzziness around it, and the eye box was great. So it had a good amount of eye relief. I like typically about 3.5 inches of eye relief, and that's what I can get, especially with this, so I don't end up with scope bite or it, kind of bouncing off my hat and stuff like that. So I had a good amount of eye relief. And the eye box, meaning that shadow that's in the center, which is, shows you that your parallax might be a little bit off, is wide enough where it's very, very forgiving. So I found that to be really nice as well. So clear glass, very forgiving amount of eye relief, a nice eye box. And I found that the scope worked great. Again, the scope comes in at under $400, so you always have to kind of look at these things and say, well, is it budget, is it mid-range, or is it nice as a lot of those more expensive options? And I got to say, I've tested out a lot of expensive options in this type of category, and I got to tell you, this is definitely up there. It's lower in the price range, so that $359 to $399 range for the 1 to 8 power. And I found it to be equal to some of the scopes that I were using that were in the $800 price range. And that's no joke. Really nice multi-coated lenses, and it is just a good scope. It works perfect. I mean, nothing else to say about it. When you take a scope out, you want it to work, and the scope works great. Now, if you want more information on this scope, again, like I said, I'll put it down in the comment section, and I'll pin it to the top, so definitely check that out. I want to thank Swampfox Optics for sending this out to the channel for me to review. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank you all very much for watching. I hope you guys liked the video. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already, and have a great day.